exposing the secret sauce in business-to-business marketing. The TAGLine Podcast is where real stories meet proven strategies. Let's elevate your business. Real strategies, real stories, real results. In the business-to-business industry, you're not selling to businesses. It's human to human. We break down what works, what doesn't, and how you can truly stand out. Transparency, credibility, growth. Get a behind-the-scenes look at what drives success in business-to-business marketing. Get ready for the next TAGLine Podcast powered by the Ably Group.
Welcome to the TAGLine Podcast powered by the Ably Group. I'm your host, Justin Starbird, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, someone who truly understands what it takes to accelerate growth and build powerhouse brands in today's competitive market. Joining me is Sabir Semerkant, the founder of Growth by Sabir, a consultancy that has helped countless businesses scale with precision and purpose. With over 2 decades of experience driving growth strategies, Sabir has not only founded and built his own ventures, but has also collaborated with some of the most influential names in the industry, Neil Patel, Gary Vee, and others. Whether you're looking to sharpen your marketing strategy, optimize growth, or better understand the evolving digital landscape, Sabir brings a wealth of knowledge and hard-to-earned insights, and that's what you're going to hear today. So, Sabir, welcome to the TAGLine Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Justin, it's great to be here.
This is, we've been talking for 15 minutes. I wish I could have hit record as soon as we came on because, some of the stuff we're talking about, people are dying to listen to,
Yeah, listen, between you and I think we're going to deliver amazing value to all of your listeners today.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that. For those that aren't familiar with you or your work, you have branched out most recently into a number of different projects. Talk a little bit about, what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I have been in this game, in the e-commerce game for more than 25 years, right? And over $1 billion in incremental revenue for e-commerce brands, right? And that's a combination of B2C and B2B. It just happens to be more B2C than B2B, right? But we can definitely go into B2B examples and B2C examples later on in our talk here. So what I've learned is because I have been an OG in the e-commerce field, right? I did not go, typically nowadays what you see is people who hyper specialize in one thing, right? For example, they are Google Ads specialists, they're affiliate marketing specialists, they're Meta Ads specialists, they're Shopify specialists, and they don't really understand all these things work together, right? They're not separate things, but they all treat it separately. Like a lot of agencies, like for example, when you go to a paid media agency, your problem as an e-com founder is paid media, something to do with paid media. It's either your audience, your Advantage Plus campaign, your creative, whatever, right? Or if you go to a Shopify person, the Shopify person says, oh, your problem is you need a new theme. You need to install a new theme. You need to change from WooCommerce to Shopify, Magento to WooCommerce, whatever, right? Yeah. That's your pain point, and that's what they solve, right? But the thing is, over 25 years, what I've learned is you cannot make those kind of lopsided decisions, right? When you make those decisions, for example, let's say you hire the best marketing agency in the world, like VaynerMedia, Gary Vee, right? Yeah. My brother from another mother, right? I co-founded an agency with him, right? He does everything that he can do on the front end with the creative, with Meta Ads. Everything is phenomenal, like 10 out of 10 for every execution that he does, right? But you forgot to tell, you're the e-com founder that hired Gary Vee and team, you forgot to tell your 3PL or your backend folks that your orders are going to go from 100 per day to 1,000 per day. That's the incredible success you're gonna experience. Right. What happens on the back end? Your back end logistics, your inventory, you're going to starve that. You're going to have out of stock situation. Yeah, the people who are doing pick, pack, and ship, they are going to suffer from those kind of miscommunication or no communication to the back end. So that's why, what makes the framework that I have created and matured over 25 years is now I don't depend on one thing. It's never one thing ever,
Right.
ever. That's one of the main reasons why your company is failing. That's the number one. If you open your mouth to me as an ecom founder and talk to me for 30 seconds, I can realize what the issue is. That's because I know that you're overemphasized and over-focused on one thing, and it's causing a problem in another thing. So that's why it's a multi-dimensional game. E-commerce is a multi-dimensional game, and you have to look at all of these 8 dimensions that I have authored over time, and with case studies, with every level of it, there's a reason why these 8 dimensions exist. And when you optimize these 8 dimensions, then your business is set on fire.
Yeah. How do you get the, all right, so you have an overexcited entrepreneur or, business owner that is really looking forward to working with you. How do you get them to stop and like peel back and say, hey, right now, you are focused on this, but you're not looking and noticing that all this over here is suffering. What do you do to help them, in a way where they're not going to be really upset with you afterwards?
They're never upset. They're very happy with. I mean, we have over 100 ecom brands that have gone through my program, right? That implemented all these things. And initially, there's healthy skepticism. And I would love every ecom founder here, whether they're B2B or B2C, to have a healthy skepticism, right? And when you lack this skepticism, that's when you get in trouble, right? And then you end up hiring people from Fiverr and through email and through Upwork or LinkedIn or whatever. And you think that whatever they're selling you is your problem, the problem that you're trying to solve, and that's rarely the case, right? The very first thing that I do, because this is one misunderstanding the consumer, the brands have, right? They think that they are the center of the universe. That was
they're
true.
they're their own hero in this story, right?
Yeah, they're not the hero. This is not 1955. This is not Madison Avenue. This is not Mad Men. Okay, it's a very different world, right? Every consumer controls hundreds of brands on this device right here. Yeah. Right. It's the iPhone or Samsung Galaxy, right? And you as a brand need to exist in the purview of this consumer, and you need to grab their attention, right? The very first thing that we fix across, this is every single brand, whether it's B2B or B2C, same problem, right? The first thing that we fix is let's optimize your business to consumer attention span, right? When you are not delivering to a consumer attention span, that's where you're getting later KPIs. Like I'm sure that you know what those are, like bounce rate, right? A lot of and that's an OG of e-commerce, right? The bounce rate. People who show up to your site, they don't even stick around, they leave, right? They don't even look at. There's no dwell time. Like at 0 seconds, they leave, right? But Google Analytics, Shopify Analytics, any of your analytics packages caught the fact that they left. They came, but they left. And then you see the discrepancy even from ad platforms. They sent you so many clicks, but you cannot account for it, right? Yeah. To me, that's a later KPI. Why did they bounce? You should answer that question first, right? What's the reason that, why is it okay for you to accept, like all the e-com gurus tell you, oh, when you reach a bounce rate of 65%, it's okay, because that's the average bounce rate for most e-com sites, right? Why? You did an incredible creative. You hired Gary Vee to do your creative, right? Or you hired whatever, right? You did an incredible creative. Advantage Plus did its job. They sent you that traffic. They found the traffic. The person clicked on it. They believed your ad that they saw. They showed up to your site. Why did they bounce immediately? What happened between the time they looked at your ad, clicked on Shop Now, show up to your site, but they decided 65% of them, for every 100, 65 of them decided that, nope, this is not for me, right? The issue is they did not even see what you had to present to them. And The main reason, by the way, in most of those cases, it's not even 65%. From Meta ads and Google ads, the bounce rate typically that I see before they start the program is around 80%.
Yeah.
So literally 80% of your budget that you're spending on Meta ads and Google ads, you're literally burning it. That's all you're doing, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'll give you a controversial statement here, right? If you are under a $10 million per year e-com business, B2B or B2C, right? You should literally shut down your Meta ads and Google ads accounts. Shut it down. Don't run any campaigns right now, because I'll tell you today, you are wasting 80% of your budgets that you're spending on it, and tweaking on the paid media side is not the solution for it. Here's the reason why. The consumer attention span in 2025 is 1.7 seconds. An average Shopify store, before they start the program, at a minimum, their time to interact for these consumers is 28 seconds.
Yep.
Time to interact means that I can start seeing certain pixels rendering on my iPhone.
Yeah.
In 28 seconds. I told you you need to connect at 1.7 seconds. Now, if you miss that, you're 22 times worse than where you need to be.
Wow. Yeah.
This is one of the main key reasons. You have to solve problems at the root, right? At my core, I'm an engineer, right? But for past 25 years, I've helped grow e-com businesses over $1 billion in incremental sales, right? What I do is I look at everything. To me, whatever I want to distinguish between what is a marketing speak, right? When somebody tells you something, versus what the root of the problem is, because that's at my core, that's my engineering coming through, saying that, no, that's not really the reason.
Sure.
Bounce rate is a later problem. Conversion rate is a garbage. Don't even follow that KPI. It's garbage for e-commerce. Don't even do that, right? At the beginning of e-commerce 28 years ago, 30 years ago, it made sense. Now in 2025, conversion rate, you should be tossing it out the door, right? You should not be running your business on conversion rate. When you are not addressing the consumer at 1.7 seconds of time to interact, and there's a tool you could use to actually do that. It's called GT metrics, right? Yep. You fire it up, you put in your URL in there, you hit analyze, it comes back to you. One of the KPIs that it gives it to you in a ribbon, it's literally, that's what it looks like, right? It's like a film strip, right? It tells you time to interact. Most likely, at a minimum, you're at around 28 seconds right now. So you're 22 times worse. So the very first thing that we fix, we want to close that gap. So if I'm telling you the number is 1.7, the consumer might be forgiving up to like 2.2, 2.3 seconds, nowhere near 28 seconds where you are. And there are some businesses, and this is going to be a rude awakening for some brands, right? When they run GT metrics comes back after running, says that we timed out. We cannot even show you the report.
Is that the website, or is that, it's not just their ads? No,
it's your website. It's your landing pages. And most of you are dropping those people on your homepage, or you're sending them to your product page. You're sending them to a collections or a category page, right?
Yeah.
Like new arrivals or bestsellers or top rated or something like that, right? Those are the pages, because ultimately that's what you're doing. You're mostly moving those folks over to your site so that they can engage with you, right? Even the latest update that Meta Ads put out, like initially they wanted you to do Facebook Pay directly on the platform and stuff. Now they're telling brands to, hey, when we can show your shopping feed, but when they click, you need to close the deal on your side. So that has also shifted again, right? Okay. And then you have the other shift. I want to also cover the other side of it. AI is doing AI shopping also, like within there, and it's a new form of search engine now, right? Okay. I call it answer engines. Now even Google is transforming itself from being a search engine to being an answer engine, meaning that when you put it on AI mode, or sometimes it just defaults to that, depending on what you're asking, it gives you one answer. It's not 50 pages of results that you're trying to see how you can rank up,
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's something that we've been a proponent of, making sure that your content is there to index for longer queries, right? I mean, you need to be able to have industry expertise, experience. You need to be able to answer those questions in thoughtful ways, and it can't be full of AI jargon, right? That's one of the reasons why we do these podcasts, is so that you can be there where your consumers are.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the thing is how you structure those answers and how you structure that content that exists on your site. You need to do it in a certain structured way, because AI is very structured from that perspective. Like when it consumes structured data, and then it can organize. It does an incredible job of organizing it, whether it's ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude. My favorite is Claude. My recent favorite is Manus. Manus is incredible at building even agents to solve the questions that you're asking it to do, right? And we can take a pretty deep dive into AI in e-commerce also during this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you identified a gap early on, and especially more recently with your 8D method. Talk a little bit about, that gap that, helped inspire this. I mean, I know we're talking about, problems and some of the stuff that in general folks are seeing, but there are definitely clients that you are working with and projects that you're working on that made this light bulb come on.
See, let's talk about the root of that question, right?
Yeah.
When from a consumer, from the business owner's perspective, right? Every e-com founder is searching for a perfect marketing hack. The next marketing hack is in that YouTube video. It's in that TikTok reel or Instagram reel or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The next thing, they're sitting on the toilet, they're scanning through there, or they're bored out of their mind at nighttime. They're going through it and go like, "Wow, this is the thing. This is the thing that's missing. I'm going to take that thing and I'm going to do it."
Yeah.
But here's the problem with that, right? One, you're wasting a tremendous amount of time, right? Can you make your money back with the money you're going to waste on this tactic? Yes, you can make your money back. What you cannot make back is lost time. That you cannot make back at all. And to me, that's more valuable, right? Because in that time, you could have tried something that was more at a root problem that strategically solved your problem, right? Not some tactic that, oh, you just tweak your ad like this and it's going to do this, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Take a look at the number of views on that video, right? A few 100,000 people saw that hack that you think is so novel, right? It's not so novel, right? So you're constantly moving from tactic to tactic, haphazardly, sporadically. You're not really addressing the real problems in your business, right? And the 8D method, what it does is it asks you to hit the reset button. Let's build the fundamentals out correctly, right? In every one of these 8 dimensions, starting with the first one is performance optimization. The first dimension is performance optimization. And what do we focus on? Consumer attention span. That nobody else talks about this, right? They always talk about some sort of a technical KPI down the line or whatever, but you're not really, you're it's like you have a serious problem, right? And you go to the doctor, they go like, "Oh, here you go, take this medication, it's going to fix your symptom." But you never solved your issue, the real issue you had deep down that needed to be taken care of, right? Maybe it was diet, maybe it was nutrition, maybe it was something else that needed to be done to you for you to handle it. The same applies to your business, right? When you are not handling things at the fundamental level by setting up the proper foundation for your business, it will always come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about those other 7, right? So if it's, your initial one is performance metrics and how quickly your site loads and how, responsive it is. What are some of the other, walk us through that journey a little bit.
Sure. So let's talk about first the first dimension, why we do the performance optimization, because we have actually tested this across hundreds of e-com brands in the past year and a half now, right? We have actually tracked those brands. And January through September of last year, when we actually created a test group, and these brands, by the way, not just US bound, they're also Canadian brands, they're Australian brands, they're We have several brands from Netherlands, from the UK, from all over the world, right? Middle East, everywhere. We have brands from everywhere that do this, including Japanese brands and stuff. When we studied that, and from January, when they implement that first dimension correctly, right? And most of them, they're even like 65-70%. For my taste, it's 7 out of 10 if I were to score their implementation, right? It's not 10 out of 10 even. So 7 out of 10, we're seeing 103.34% uplift in 6 weeks. It takes about 6 weeks to implement, right? Yeah. That's from January through September, because we wanted to leave Q4 alone, because there's always an uplift, because consumers in the market, we want to study that separately. That number moved from 103 to 108, during the Q4, right? And then we said, okay, does this continue on? Because one of the things that we preach, because it's built into the system, is compounded growth, right? Mm-hmm. Profitable compounded growth. So meaning that the work that you do, we don't want to waste our time, right? The work you do on January 15 should be still applicable when you're in the middle of your Black Friday sale, November 27th, right? It should have compounded by then, the effect of it, because of its algorithm. You've gotten better with it and you kept on tweaking it and stuff like that. It should compound over time, right? So when we add in 2025 year to date also, that number jumps to 118%.
Wow.
Right. So it just keeps on giving. It doesn't stop, because the thing is, you're working on smart things. And it's the other aspect of it is, in those 6 weeks, you're not like slaving away 70 hours a week, right? That's another problem that I see. It's a big problem. I'm a huge proponent, and I know that Gary Vee and the people who have achieved success, they know sleep is really important, right? Sleep is really important. You need to get your 8 hours, because if you're not getting your 8 hours, you're not thinking clearly, and you're making very abrupt decisions and wrong decisions in most cases, right? So you're not really thinking that way. So why are you working 70 hours a week? It doesn't make sense, right? You should be working on a few things. And we have quite a few Rapid 2Xers. That's the implementation program for the 8D method, that actually reduce the number of hours that they're working while they're scaling over 100%, So that's a smarter way of working, not that in 2025, like I started this in very long time ago, right? Yeah. Back then, there was no Shopify. So when there was no Shopify, there was no PayPal, there was no, Shopify payments and App Store and stuff like that. Every bit and piece that I needed to do for an e-com site, I needed to build it from the ground up. Yeah. That, if
there were no shortcuts,
you had to build every part of the Lego parts that you have right now, right? Now you have Lego parts. You have to be smarter about these things. You cannot, your workflow and your working method needs to upgrade to 2025, right? Especially with AI. Now you have 17 arms. As an entrepreneur, you would love that, right? And it's all virtual arms that could be helping you. But how do you use it? How do you use AI in a way that's going to be smarter for you, right? So that's the results of from the get-go. And regardless of, we have had brands that come in and say, oh, you know what? Last year we hired a CRO specialist. We hired some sort of expert, right? Yeah, sure. And they showed us, we increased our, that was very impressive. We got 20% increase in this, and we got 35% increase in that, right? How much did you pay for it? Oh, it was pretty steep. We paid like 25K, whatever, right? Big number, right? But then they spend 6 weeks in this program, the first 6 weeks, and they see on average 103% increase, right? They go like, what did I pay for? I paid this guy to do this for me, and you just squeezed out on top of their growth, you squeezed out another 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hire them. You hired them. What convinced you to actually hire them to do that for you, right? If I can squeeze out another 100% by there are some brands that are exceptional. They have seen 1,400% growth, during the 6 week period, and there are some that see 79% increase, but that's kind of the range that we typically see across those brands. So that's the first dimension. We want to fix the house. We want to clean the house. We want to fix the house. We want to optimize the current stack that you have. But if you have something in there that's not a that's not shouldn't be there because it's actually hindering your growth, right? You're asked to actually get rid of that,
Sure.
and replace it with something that we know we have tried and tested it across 100 brands, that we know that this works. This one is lacking. It doesn't matter. You bought their marketing message. That's what you did, compared to this other thing that actually works really well. And it's sometimes, in most cases, actually, it's either free or it's even cheaper than the decision you made, and you continue paying for it.
That's funny.
So
what's it, from there you get their house in order, and there are some, stark realizations clearly when that happens, because, nobody is excited when somebody else cleans their house. I mean, they are, but they're not, right?
Oddly enough, today is Thursday, and I have house cleaners coming to clean my house. That's one thing I don't want to do. I bring somebody in to clean the house. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it offers a unique perspective, and those are, when they're looking under the hood, and the business, though, sometimes it's personal for those owners or those folks that are making the decisions. So how do you
always personal, and it's a very dangerous place to be, by the way,
Yes.
right? And what does that lead to? It leads to one of the things I learned over these 25 years, right? Even my opinion with this amount of experience, the sharks on Shark Tank depend on me for giving them strategic advice on how to exponentially grow brands, right? In addition to all of the rapid 2Xers that we have in our program, right? The one thing that you have to do is you have to check your ego and opinion at the door. There is no place for it in ecom. In ecom, it's real-time data. The data is dictating exactly whether you're doing a good job, a great job, or you're doing a piss poor job, right? There is no place for opinion. And especially that opinion could also come in two other forms. It could be a resume that you hired, that the resume is, let's say there's a North Star brand that you really, really like, right? Let's say it's Johnson and Johnson, Procter and Gamble, Clorox, big name, gigantic, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, whatever. That person that you hired was the director of marketing, and now you want to give them that elevated status of CMO, right? Chief Marketing Officer, with a bigger price tag, salary tag and stuff. And now anything coming out of their mouth is gold, right? To you, right? Yeah. That's opinion. That's not reality. That person, whatever they're telling you, whoever it is, including yourself as an ecom founder, it's one data point. That's all it is. It's worth test, learn, optimize. That's what it's worth. Just that one cycle. And then if it's working well, okay, maybe they got something here. All right, now I'm going to invest more time and more energy to start growing that. And then when it gets out of that growth phase, that idea gets out of its growth phase, then you start scaling it. And if that idea fails, find out why it failed. Look at the variables, change the variables, and then retest it. And then let's say you try it once or twice and you have already spent, and don't allocate big budget to these things, right? Because you're testing it. Why would you want to do it that way, right? Why would you want to spend so much money and waste it and throw it out the door? You don't want to do that, right? You want to test it. And let's say your idea, you thought you were a genius and you came up with such a brilliant idea you heard on YouTube or a blog article or whatever, right? And you want to test it, treat it like that. Don't personalize it to say, oh, it's my idea, it should work because I'm the ecom founder, I'm the loudest voice, I'm the owner. No, leave that alone. What works is the idea has to stand on itself, by itself. Sure. And when it works, that's the thing that is going to make you win and win exponentially, right? But as soon as you introduce your ego opinion, instead of cold hard data that ecom is blessing you with, right? Why are you bringing opinion into this, right? There is no need for it. And one other thing that I hear from some of the ecom founders is, Sabir, this should work because my wife is in it, my husband is in it, my daughter, sweet 6-year-old, she comes in, she giggles, and I want to make this the ad, right? Okay, your product has to do with plumbing supplies. What does your daughter have to do with this, right? Okay, we'll test it. It didn't work. I'm sorry. That customer testimonial, that guy that had dirty hands and he was saying how great the fittings are on this plumbing thing, or this influencer that you thought was not so great looking, but she was wearing your fashion or your jewelry, and the way she was talking to her audience was incredible. In fact, the ROAS on that was 6x. The ROAS on the thing that we spent your daughter's ad money on was 0.25, right? You should be okay with deciding that, oh, you know what, the ugly ad is okay. Let's move forward with that. I love you, my daughter. I have a daughter, by the way, right?
I've got two.
I love you, but I have twins. I have a boy and a girl.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, you love them to death, but maybe their place is not in this specific brand and specific business, right? Yeah. Maybe if it was a mommy brand or a baby brand or something like that, maybe then it's in the context, it makes sense. But you could still test it, because you can say that, Sabir, you're lying to me. I'm going to test it. I'm going to spend money on this. But as soon as you see that this is losing you money and the other thing is actually gaining your momentum even faster, go with that, right? And park your ego at the door.
So, you talk to entrepreneurs, you talk to founders, owners all the time. How do you, what are some of the biggest shifts that you're seeing in how they're making decisions today? We mentioned AI a little bit before, but, I got to believe that also there, in some of the industries you just mentioned, they're still scared of implementing it. How do you help them, see that opportunity?
So the cold hard truth is AI is not fad.
Yeah.
I was told in my beginning of my career, right, very early in my career, right, internet is a fad. I quit that job, right? When the partner in charge told me that, right, and I said I'm going to become an internet consultant. When people thought that, oh, nobody is going to give, how are you going to sell a house or a boat or whatever? All right, how about we sell personal care items first? E-commerce is going to be a fad, right? Social media is a fad. Blockchain is a fad. Blockchain is actually actively being used right now in operations throughout the world right now, right? Yeah. And moving forward, AI is a fad. Every single time I've heard insert something and put a fad next to it when it comes to technology, it's out of fear. Yeah. In most of cases, it's just completely purely out of fear. The e-com founders that embrace technology and go like, you know what, I'm hearing all this noise because of job loss and this and that. There's a lot of noise in the system right now with AI, right?
There's a lot of noise in general right now.
Yep. Let me try it. Like, I don't want to change 100%. Maybe I want to change 20% of the things that I'm doing. I'm going to be changing it to that, right? Yeah. Maybe I'm going to ask AI to evaluate the product descriptions that I have on the site with the data that I can give it, so that I can evaluate, can I get a better copy out of that, or at least bullet points, so that, oh, you're missing these 3 critical things that will make the product description a better hook for this consumer, so that they'll buy it. Remember, it always goes back to that 1.7 seconds of attention span. Even your writing needs to make sense. Nobody's reading. They're skimming, right? And where are they skimming it on? It's on mobile device. It's not on a beautiful Mac that's 40 inches wide, right? Nobody's using that, right? By the way, it's 12%, by the way, on average. Desktop is 12% of e-commerce traffic. 72% is 72% or more, or close to 80% is mobile, and like 8% is tablets, right? Yeah. So this year, because you're listening to this podcast, I am giving you permission to ignore the desktop and ignore tablets. You follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of your traffic is on mobile, right? Yeah. And that's fact. So stick with that, right? Yeah. So when it comes to today's entrepreneur, they think that the term, like, for example, product market fit, right? They hear someone like me says, oh, product market fit, you have to have a product market fit. To them, it means like it's the initial sale, right? And they go like, oh yeah, we have a product market fit. We sold $50,000 last year, or $100,000. Let's talk about the starters, right? From 0 to 50K or 100K, right? The challenge with that is that's not a product market fit. Product market fit is also organic repurchase, right? Did they come back? They love you so much. They love the product so much. They came back and they bought again.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's a stat, and every e-com business owner can run this, right? When you look at your customers that have bought only one time in their lives, and I have a term for this, I call them one-hit wonders, like Mambo Number 5, Macarena, right? So you heard that song once, and these customers sang to you only once by paying you once. That's it, right? And you look at all the customers that have bought from you. When you divide these two numbers up, most e-com businesses, 70 to 100% of their database is one transaction. It's one-hit wonders, 70 to 100 on the initial purchase. Now, let me give you a rude awakening. These one-hit wonders have a very high return rate also. Returns rate, meaning that they return the first order that they purchased, not my size, not my flavor, it didn't fit, it doesn't go, whatever. Those are the excuses, right?
Yeah.
They return it. Once they return it, that 70 to 100% goes to 85% to 150% of your database is one-hit wonders when you net that out, right? So you have to understand your numbers in e-com. E-commerce is an incredible platform that gives you every single click tells you what's going on, right? And tools like Lucky Orange, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with Lucky Orange. It gives you heat map. It gives you even recordings of the sessions, right?
Oh, I use Microsoft Clarity came out, and they do something similar, not quite as good and not specific to e-commerce.
And it's a free product. Clarity is a free product, right?
Yeah.
So Lucky Orange actually does a much better analysis of that. So when you look at heat map, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I didn't have Lucky Orange when I was growing up in e-commerce, right? I had to actually collect the data, tabulate it. There was no colorful things that I could look at. I needed to figure out like where were they clicking, where they were. I put in a tracker myself to actually see what was going on. All right. Now with Lucky Orange, that saves me so much time when I do that. Right. It tells you, for example, when you look at scrollability of your page, right? Top of your page, red hot orange, because everybody saw that part of it, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then you see, even before you scroll down on that page, midpoint, you see a drop of 20 points. It goes from 65% of people are here, and then it drops down to like 45% of people here with 3 bullet points.
Right.
Right. You know that those 3 bullet points are actually harming the engagement on that page, right? Because there is an art and structure to how you optimize a page. And it depends on priority of information, because it goes back to the consumer attention span. You have to optimize it to that level, right? So that when I am actually scrolling down, and by the way, before they scroll down, 70% of people engage with before they scroll. Before they scroll, 70% of your clicks come from there and engagement. So add the cart, change the quantity, select different variations, color, size, whatever. All of that stuff happens before they even scroll. So what do most e-commerce businesses do? The add to cart is, you just have to scroll down. It's right there. Only less than 30% of people are doing that.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering, like, why do you have product browse?
Yeah.
And then you have abandonment, meaning that browse abandonment. They didn't even add to cart. It's your fault.
Right.
You did not give them the button to add to cart.
Right. You're making
You're making them work hard for your add to cart. How hard is it for you to bring it up where their attention is 70% of the time?
Yeah.
And you're expecting them to, just scroll down. They're not doing that. You're not in control.
Especially when you're talking about a mobile device, right? Where you've got to physically move something, right? Yeah.
And absolutely. If 80% of your traffic is mobile, why are you not optimizing? So it's not mobile optimized. The term is primarily mobile first, and secondarily, it's device first. You have to look at your device analytics to see that, iPhone, because the iPhone viewport is a little different than Samsung Galaxy viewport. So you would need to prioritize for both of them, and you need to make sure that both of those devices actually work the best. And if you're in a market that it's a different device, like let's say maybe Nokia is the primary device, right? Optimize it for that first, right? And secondarily, it would be iPhone, and then it would be like Google Pixel, Samsung Galaxy, whatever. Look at your data, right? Don't take my word for it. Look at your data to see where does that come from. And here's the challenge for you, business owner, right? Go to your own site using your mobile phone. It's very funny that a lot of e-com founders don't even do that because they are always sitting in front of a desktop or laptop. Sure. They're looking at their site constantly on a desktop. Their consumers are not, right? Would you go through your checkout? Would you go through your checkout yourself on your site? Treat it as if it was another brand. The answer is absolutely no, right? And why aren't you using the checkout that's built into these phones? It's called Apple Pay. It's called Google Pay. Why aren't you using that? You want me to add to cart? You want me to do what? And you want me to put in all the digits of my credit card number on this tiny little screen? You want me to put in the expiration date? You're asking me too much. And then you go, then what do you hear, Justin? What do you hear on the other side? Well, I don't understand. My desktop conversion rate is 2x over mobile, but 80% of my traffic is mobile. So I'm getting half the conversions.
Right, because it's so much bigger.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
100%.
Right.
100% it's your fault, right? Yeah. What you're focused on cutting down trees in the wrong forest. You're completely in the wrong here, right? Yeah. You focus on where it matters. The data tells you exactly what it is. And in case of, for example, going back to the heat map, it tells you where the drop-off is or where your effective fold is, for example, right? And when it comes to, and then if you see what are they doing on my site, there's session recordings. Yep. It literally records play by play, like Major League Baseball.
So let me ask you this: a lot of these, translate to beyond spending money on ads. It translates beyond, this is just like, in a lot of cases, this is just good practice for your business anyway. Because, whether you're B2B, B2C, I loved your point. I'm totally gonna take it is that it's B2P, right? It's business to a person, and that's really what is most important, is that somebody's making a decision to get to know your brand, your company, get to know you. They're looking up your profile on LinkedIn. They're checking out your brand on Instagram. The one thing about those platforms is they're all contained, right? So thinking about your business and how folks are interacting with your information, you want to be contained and make it easy for them to stay on your site. And that dwell time that you talked about, you want that to go up. You want a reason for them to convert, a reason for them to continue to stay engaged in what you're doing, whether that is useful information for a B2B industry where they're trying to make a good decision on whether or not to use your service, because ultimately one of the differences we find in the B2C versus B2B is that in business to business, the decision maker is concerned about embarrassing themselves. They don't want to screw up. They don't want to have to answer for shoddy work or somebody that doesn't deliver what they say they're going to do. It's really similar to the journey that you're talking about in a transaction. Maybe there's not as much that goes into the decision, but you want to make those conversions as easy as possible for them to get information.
Anyone wants, basically everyone wants not to waste time, right? And they want to be armed with the right decisions, right? So what I've been talking about is like obsessing about the site and landing pages. The same applies, by the way, to email marketing. The same applies to even the SMS message, the tiny message you send.
Yeah.
Remember, they need to consume it in 1.7 seconds. Don't give me paragraphs in SMS, right? Who reads? You are not going to read a text that's a paragraph, right?
Yeah.
You got to read something in short bits, maybe image that you can skim quickly, right? The same applies to paid media ads, right? The same applies to influencer marketing, right? When you're trying to get influencers to, whether it's in B2B or B2C, to review your product so that other businesses can buy your laptops, for example, sure. Right? All of that, you have to, this attention span at the end of the day, like I said, it's B2P, right? It's business to person, right? And that person in today's decision makers today, right? In 2025 is millennials and younger. What did they grow up on? They did not grow up on this transition of going from TV marketing to internet. When they woke up and they were born, they were born into social media.
Yeah.
And to them, their attention span is laser sharp to that 1.7 seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't know what the dial-up tone is anymore.
Yeah. Or fax machine. There are some doctors and stuff. They're still asking me, could you fax me that? Well, like, who has a fax machine?
Yeah.
Where do I go to fax? Right? Yeah. What is that? Right? I know what a fax machine is. I've used a fax machine in my past, but nobody uses that right now. Can I email it to you? Can I put it up and give you a secure link? You can go download it, right? Or do you have a portal that I can upload these attachments to my medical records or whatever, right? Yeah. It's that, like, understanding who is using your technology, right? Are you arming them with that, right? And you have to think about this across the board and optimize. So in that first dimension, we not only look at this, it's not just the site and landing pages. We look at customer segmentation. I talked about one-hit wonders just now, right? That's a very big problem, right? If you have a one-hit wonder problem, and most of you do, most of the businesses do, right? Unfortunately, you need to work on understanding life cycle marketing, which is recency, frequency, monetary value, and if you're advanced, profitability, right? So RFMP. You have to understand how many customers do you have, and I gave you one of them, which is one-hit wonders, and most businesses this is what they do when they do email marketing with, like, let's say Klaviyo or OmniSend or MailChimp or something like that, right? Spray and pray, right? They take this message, oh, we have a Father's Day coming up. It's 30% off. Let's blast it out to all of our email subscribers. Why are you treating Beyonce and a weekend amateur karaoke singer the same way?
Right.
That amateur karaoke singer just gave you their email sign up. That's it. They have not even transacted with you. Beyond your Beyonce in that example, 17-time buyer in your database, right? In your CRM. Why are you treating those two people the same? It doesn't make sense. But most businesses, but what's incredible is a platform like Klaviyo gives you incredible amount of power to do that. Incredible amount of exactly where did that consumer, how did they behave on your site or with different things? All of that event is in Klaviyo, all of it. Mm-hmm. You need to understand how to use it, effectively use it. So in this first dimension, it's not just the site and landing pages. We go through customer segmentation so that you get to know your customers better. You do search engine optimization, right? That you think that it's dead in AI. It actually has become a bigger problem in AI. You really need to do SEO, catch up as quickly as possible. Because if we were recording this podcast 6 months from now, I go like, there are a lot of companies that are going bankrupt because they didn't focus on SEO, right? 6 months ago, right? Yeah. So you need to do that. Email marketing, SMS marketing, WhatsApp marketing, right? And then you go into paid media, understanding how do you need to, these AI ad platforms like Advantage Plus and Performance Max, incredible, right? Incredible that if you feed me data, that this is what these ads are telling you, right? Mm-hmm. If you feed me data, I'm going to give you the most relevant consumers to come to your site to buy from you. As an e-com founder, you're dropping the ball. Yeah. You're dropping the ball. You're not structuring it properly. You're treating paid media similar to the decision I just said you're doing on Klaviyo. Spray and pray. You set up one Advantage Plus. It's very lazy marketing, by the way. One Advantage Plus, and you put some amount of money on it, like $50 per day, and then you're trying to scale that up over time, right? And you go like, oh, okay, I pray that we get some conversions out of it. I set it up. I set it up for conversion-focused campaign, right? That's your setup is wrong. Let's start from there, right? You're sending wrong signals. Those AI platforms, the default signal that if you don't know any better, most e-com businesses, they set the signal to be all site visitors, right? Again, it goes with the spray and pray decision, right?
Sure.
All site visitors. But I just told you 80% of your bounce rate, that's your bounce rate off of meta ads. Why is it 80%? Because you said, send me more people who bounced off of my site.
Right.
Does
You're
that
asking
make sense?
For it. Right.
You're
right.
asking for it. You're
Right.
asking you to lose 80% of your budget pretty regularly, and AI is going to do what you're asking it to do, right? Yeah. So even in that, it's the quick fix for it. And I don't want, this is not about hacking, about hacks here, right? A better decision there is to do engaged site visitors, right? But it's not the right answer. That's definitely not the right answer. It's a better answer than all site visitors. Engaged means at least they stayed on, they did something on your site. They browsed products, they looked at your blog articles, they add the cart, maybe they purchased. Those are better signal there than all site visitors. But in the Rapid 2X program, we actually give you the right signal after you do the customer segmentation. We give the Beyoncés of your CRM to Meta ads and Google ads and TikTok to say, these are the people we're interested in, nobody else, right? Yeah. And then AI does an incredible job. This is why we have, on average, the ROAS in our program tends to be between 4 to 6x on Meta ads and Google ads, 4 to 6x. The people who are listening to that go like, no, that's bullshit. That's not possible. Right. No, you don't have the right setup. That's the problem with it. These platforms.
Talk a little. Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned, the incredible success that companies are having going through your program. You have a couple of examples on both the B2B and the B2C side. Why don't you talk through first the B2B, the business to consumer, and then how that applies to business.
Sure. I mean, we have hundreds of examples in case studies. So and folks can find out when, you can include the link to the site. It's we have actually set up a special link for your listeners is growthbysabir.com/tagline, right? Mm-hmm. So when they go there, they can learn more about the Rapid 2X. I put out so much high value content, right? Including the case studies are not just testimonials. We do a detailed walkthrough of these case studies. So one of them that's actually on the site that they can go through what happened in those 6 weeks to grow it at this level for this case study. It's Orum Brothers. Orum Brothers is a Dutch, Netherlands-based, men's jewelry brand, right? Men's jewelry brand, not women's jewelry brand, men's jewelry brand. And specifically, they make men's bracelets, right? So talk about niche down and then super niche, right? Yeah. So the Orum Brothers, founded by Max and Scott, the two brothers, and Scott's wife, Leandra, the three of them, and now the whole family is involved in it, right? They grew from $0 to $1.5 million, and then they got stuck. Every brand goes through this. When they go through this journey, they always hit a plateau, and boom, they're stuck. And as an e-com founder, what do? You try different things, right? And they were doing the same thing. They were trying different things. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, what they were doing with trying different things is that they ended up, spending a lot of money, right? So they started running out of money. So they went and got business loans, and credit cards were run up, right? Because when you have a business that's generating 1.5 million, there's an operating cost associated with that business, right? A sizable one, right? Yeah. So while they were trying to run the operations and try to figure out what's wrong, they racked up quite a lot of debt. So for 3 years, they were stuck at that between 1.2 million and 1.5 million, right? They were not moving. And typically when that happens, it usually points to a gap, right? Every business goes through this. You hit a gap, and it's a skills gap. It's a expertise gap. It's an experts gap. It's thinking that what I did to get to this point, because now your ego is playing some role in this, it should work. It should work. It should take me to the next level. Why isn't it? Right? Yeah. Because you're playing this. It's like you mastered elementary school and you're in middle school now, and you think that the stuff that you had mastered in elementary school still applies in middle school. Sure. Or what you learned through high school is going to be applicable as soon as you enter college. And first week of college, you realize that nobody's waking you up. Nobody is responsible for you anymore. You are responsible for you, right? Yep. It's a different stage of growth, right? So every business goes through it, whether it's 0 to 500K, 500 to 1 million. 1 million to 10 million, 10 million plus. We have everybody up to $1 billion in the program, right? We have all sorts of people. And when you go through that, you always hit this sort of a gap. They hit that too, right? And then they came across our program. They attended one of our live workshops that I do. And from there, they decided to give this a shot because they had given a shot to another person. I don't want to name them. They're very well known in the YouTube space. They did not succeed with that person. With that program, and they failed at it. Actually, they lost even more money when they worked with that person. I don't want to name them. I don't want to name drop a bad example there. So they joined us in the first 6 weeks, which is Dimension 1 performance optimization, 112% increase.
Wow.
Go like, how is that? So we have actually a case study walkthrough of those 6 weeks, because everybody, when I say that, they go like, oh, what did you do? There's actually a 90-minute walkthrough, detailed, with a Loom video, with a Google Doc. I take you step by step exactly what we ended up doing. And then we moved on to Dimension 2 through 8, which are things like increasing prices. We increased prices. We rationalized the product catalog, right? That's the second dimension. Then we did customer UX. That's the customer, optimizing the customer journey, right?
Yep.
And the journey is not just your website, it's everything, right? Marketing and storytelling. There are so many brands that focus so much on paid media and stuff. They're never telling their story. We have one of the Rapid 2Xers, and we actually helped her unlock this, right? She has helped deliver 300,000 healthy babies over her career. When you go to her site, the site has to do with mothers, right?
Of course.
Doesn't say that. So we actually focus on marketing and storytelling to kind of extract that out, to actually say, what's your story? Because consumers in 2025 are not buying products. They're buying the feeling they get from the thing that you're selling.
Yeah.
And that comes through storytelling. It comes through marketing, right? Then we move on to product positioning and brand positioning, right? Where do you stand in the market and how you position yourself? We look at logistics, like supply chain, as well as order fulfillment and customer service. Then it's the tech stack, because your tech stack could be drowning you. It's possible, right? Yeah. That you're not addressing the market fast enough, right? And then the 8th dimension, it has to do with team. So we completed, I would say 6 out of 10 for some of them 7.5 out of 10. From January, they joined us January 20th, 2024. First 6 weeks, banger. We got a 112% increase. Continued on, right? September 9, 2024, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm in New York, so Eastern time, right? We surpassed $1.5 million.
Wow.
September 9.
That's before your, the rush of the holidays and all those things.
September 9 through December 31st, we put up another $1.5 million. Because we, in the dimension of pricing strategy optimization, we had increased prices on average by 22%, and we rationalized the lower quality products out of the portfolio, right? Our cash flow improved. Our profitability went from 50% to 70%.
Wow.
What did that do by the end of the year? We paid off all of the business loans. So when we entered beginning of January 2025, debt-free, brand was at $3 million. And we set the goal for this year to be $10 million. Next year, if we hit between $8 to $10 million this year, next year, the goal is between $25 to $30 million. Now it has become very interesting for acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And exit.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, it's a niche product and a niche market. And, to be able to do those sorts of numbers, it's a huge asset for any brand to look at.
Yeah. So that's a B2C example, and we have many of them. I mean, that was a 2X example, profitable 2X example that continues building out, right? In case of a B2B example, we have a brand called Pipe and Drape in our program, right? Before they joined us, it's a B2B brand. They make pipes and drapes for exhibition halls and so that, the black curtains that you see.
Yeah, trade shows. Yep.
Trade shows and stuff like that. They really make a really good one. So if if your audience is B2B, I'm giving them a little plug there, pipeanddrape.com, right?
Yep.
Go there. and let Sean know. Sean Soros is the founder of Pipe and Drape that I sent you, and he's been part of the program. So before they joined us, their B2B business was in the negative territory, meaning that they were trending year over year. They were trending negative, right? It was red. It was all red, basically, right? They joined the program. They started implementing in the first 6 weeks, like heads down. They saw one day I started up the session. The first thing out of his mouth, guys, I want to share with you what happened. We're like, well, okay, what happened? Go ahead. I let him talk. He was like, what Sabir is telling you, just listen. Just put the blinders on. Just listen. Don't question it too much, because I did it in a B2B business where the buying cycles tend to be longer, right? That I did not think that I'm going to see results that quickly. So I was doing the exercises and I was doing all the, we call it prescriptions, right? I was implementing the prescriptions, hoping that, in the next 6 to 9 weeks, 12 weeks, because we're in B2B, we'll see results. We started seeing results within a week. And month over month, they have been one of our top Rapid 2X, top 10 Rapid 2X champions. Several times they were the top one, the number one. And from February all the way through May, every single month, it's a positive. And on average, year to date, 89.2% increase.
Wow.
In B2B business.
That's
right.
incredible.
Yeah. So it's not just a B2C thing. It's not just it's a jewelry thing or it's a fashion thing or whatever. We've worked in niches. We have worked in different business models, B2C, B2B, this works. This works really well. It's not a platform thing. If you have made certain tech decisions, we prefer certain tech, like Shopify allows you to do things a lot faster. If you have something like Magento or WooCommerce, you could still apply those things. It's just the timeline for your implementation tends to be a little bit longer, right? And these tasks are not, by the way, these prescriptions, there are only up to 5 prescriptions assigned in a week. Why? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? I don't want you to work too hard, right? And how long does it take to actually implement? If you have the expertise, right, it would take you 15 minutes to 90 minutes per day to implement each one of these prescriptions. So it's not a heavy lift for you to do. And you raise your hand and go like, but I'm a product designer. I'm not a Shopify Magento developer. I don't know anything. Do you have anybody on your team that could do it? Okay, they can do that. Or if you don't have anybody, or maybe you kissed a lot of frogs, some of them being very toxic, right? Right? They lost you money because you hired them. You spend money to increase your revenue, and they lost you money. Then in that case, we actually have Rapid 2X approved partners. That these are independent agencies and freelancers that have been vetted, and they are certified through our program, that they know how to implement these specific prescriptions, and they do that across hundreds of brands right now.
Yeah. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity for folks to get to know you, follow you, and get to know your team, use your prescriptions. What's next for folks? Like, how,
there's a good starting point for them. Go to growthbysabir.com/tagline, just like the name of this podcast, right? You can include it in the show notes or the video description, right? Let them go there. They can apply to the program. We're looking for certain types of fit, right? Product market fit is one of them. The other one is entrepreneurial fit, because there are, we look for entrepreneurs that are going to get things done, because, otherwise you're wasting your time and money, and I don't want you to do either. We want to make sure that you're the right fit for the program. And my team is very good at vetting that. We are very good at knowing who belongs in the program and who does not. Sure. The one I can give you the definition is involved versus committed. If you are a committed e-com founder, you will belong in the program, and you will see amazing results from it. If you are an involved e-com founder, and what does that person look like? They always think that they want to, they don't really appreciate the expertise. It's more like somebody needs to do that task. Somebody needs to do copywriting. Somebody needs to run the Meta ads account, right? Not that they don't think like, oh, you know what? It's my baby. I need to make sure that the baby is fed properly, right? That's a committed entrepreneur. The involved one is always looking for the next best babysitter, right? And my team can sniff that out very quickly. So if you're an involved e-com entrepreneur, I would recommend not applying to the program, because we find out very quickly that you don't belong, and you would have even that call you would have wasted.
Yeah.
But if you're committed that you're the one who's going to show up, not that you're going to send us your second in command or your team or someone else like that, you should be the one running this brand, not me. Not
Right.
me. I'm gonna give you, I'm an advisor. I'm gonna give you the advice, the prescription, exactly what you need to do this week, right? In order to keep on scaling your business. But then you need to be responsible for executing that, right? And then if you need help, we have people in our network that can provide that specific help. It's a very robust network of folks that have gone through certification for that.
Yeah. So, Sabir, last question for you. What clearly you're a passionate guy. Clearly you've got a lot going on. You're in it just as much as anybody. You are a committed entrepreneur, I would say, with all of these things that we've been talking about. What are you most excited about? What are you seeing that's coming?
So the biggest one, I would say that it's obviously it's AI right now, but understanding we actually do quite a lot of premium workshops in our program about using AI in e-commerce, right? So folks in our program, the Rapid 2Xers, really utilize AI for really scaling their businesses a lot faster, right? When I started this journey with Vitamin Shop being the first one, I took when it was a bankrupt brand at between $8 to $10 million. I grew it. That was my very first try, right? To $52 million, but it took me 4.5 years, right? So it was growth. It's still impressive, even today's standards. But I did it at a time that a lot of things didn't exist. Google had just come out of Stanford beta testing, right? Facebook, none of this stuff existed. There was no Shopify. You had to build everything from the ground up, right? But as time progressed, when it came to 8 years later, when I scaled Ashley Stewart, which is a fast fashion brand in the African American community, plus size fashion, it took me 2 years to take it from less than $3 million to $30 million in 2 years. So wow. 10x, right? Yeah. Now, it's this is before AI, and now we're implementing AI quite a bit in our processes. 6 weeks, 103%. Right? Growth. I believe that with AI, that timeline is going to be even crunched up even more, meaning that you can scale a lot faster, but you have to know what you're doing, right? Blaming the algorithm, the algorithm is changing. Everybody obsesses about the algorithm, right? The thing is, these are incredible intelligence systems. And I went through the example of sending the right signals, having the right creative, stuff like that. You have to know how to feed the beast, right? The AI beast, the algorithm beast, in order for it to actually give you the desirable results or explosive results that you're looking for. So algorithmic intelligence systems, that's the next part of it. That's exciting for me, that, where things were like machine learning based with Meta ads and Google ads and other things, but that AI is going to take it to a notch up, a couple of notches up. In my view, like it's going to be incredible. I think that focusing too much on just paid media channels to drive your sales is detrimental. It's a leading factor for bankruptcy. Don't do that, right? You have to do the hard work, and what I call zero CAC framework, right? That's a zero cost of acquisition, right? Yep. And how do you do that? That's your brand positioning, that's content development, that's building your stories, founder stories, stuff like that, that you really need to invest your money on. And eventually, once you have that implemented properly, you're going to get, you will see that 60 to 80% of your 60 to 80% of your traffic is going to be organic, yeah. Right? And you're going to be doing lesser of a lifting on the paid side, like maybe 20 to 30% of your traffic would be paid traffic that you need to bring in, right? It's that part of it, and that's reality. That's definitely reality. That needs to happen, and that happens through the dimensional focus of these 8 dimensions, right? And this is my advice, my parting advice for everybody here. Just don't have over reliance on just paid media. So many of the businesses focus on one channel, which is Meta ads, and they just pour all of their money and life savings into that, hoping and praying that that's going to give them some sort of a return. They're missing another 27,
Yeah.
they're missing the big picture, and that's where the profitability is, that's where the growth is, and it should be profitable growth, not that, oh, I am investing in my growth. That's BS. That's
Yeah.
not, that's disaster of a decision to make.
Man, this is going to be quite the show notes afterwards, and you warned me that you would give the audience a ton of information and value, and you way over delivered. Sabir, I really appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for sharing your platform with me, and I really hope that I did actually deliver what I promised.
There's no doubt about that. So thank you, and great to meet you. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to, developing this relationship and seeing if there's more that we could do together.
Same here, Justin. Thank you.
All right. On behalf of my guest today, Sabir Semerkant, the founder of Growth by Sabir, you've been listening to TAGLine, powered by the Ably Group. Until next time.